And good morning. We're live on the Falcons Podcast on YouTube and Twix. We're going to bring in a Facebook group that is Atlanta Falcons on SI. We're about 26,000 strong over there, so that means 5 or 6 of you should be able to get this live stream according to the algorithms. But once we're good to go, and it looks like we are, we'll get started. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Wednesday edition of the Falcons Podcast. We are pretty much done with OTAs down here at Flowery Branch. And we are looking forward to mandatory minicamp. Now, there's been a little drama that has surrounded the Atlanta Falcons. What's new? For a team that, typically doesn't win, we sure seem to kick up drama here and there. And it's been Kyle Pitts. It's been Kirk Cousins. We'll get into that. We'll get into a little bit of some of the other storylines about the team itself that happened, including, a nice scuffle at OTAs and what that means. Possible depth charts now and what they might actually look like, what they mean now versus what we think they could end up being, and all kinds of stuff. But first, I want to say hello to Nick. Nick, how you doing, my friend? It's good to see you. Welcome in and good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I am still sore from the hike on Sunday, which is makes me feel bad because, love getting out there, but hopefully getting out there again sometime. I'm debating on playing hooky at work. I have vacation days to use because we're going to be moving soon. And taking the kid on another hike out here and enjoying the start of summer. So it's beautiful out here this time of year before smoke season starts. So we'll see. But yeah, no, doing pretty well and excited to talk a little bit of Falcons. A team that's a lot going on, and I'm just so ready to get this Kirk Cousins monkey off the back.
Well, one of the things we'll talk about is I was like, well, this ought to have some interest for us. ESPN got together a little panel of folks. I think 4 or 5 of them, and it was Jalen Ramsey, it was Trey Hendrickson, and it was Kirk Cousins. And they did like mock trades. And then they had the local beat writer, which is Mark Ramundi for the Atlanta Falcons, then accept which one did he think was the best one. And a couple of things I thought interesting. One was how similar the offers were for what they think that a Kirk Cousins trade would be worth. And it's about what we've said, which is roughly $10 million. However, now, because of the bonus in 2026, they didn't actually say it, but it would be $20 million, not just 10, but we'll get into all of that. And then like a pair of day 3 picks was pretty much all of it. We'll get into each one of those. We'll talk a little bit of Kyle Pitts, injury situation, etc. But what I thought was interesting, but it did not surprise me on this, was Trey Hendrickson and Jalen Ramsey. Of the 4 people making trade offers, not a one of them picked the Falcons as far as this is like a legitimate spot. And that's kind of what we said on Monday. Yeah, there's been some ties there. Edge rusher is kind of done as far as, we're concerned. You use your 2026 on an edge rusher. You're not going to send something else to the Bengals for an edge. And then Jalen Ramsey, the money that he's got left on his contract doesn't really mean anything. It'd be pretty cheap, but you're just not in a position to give up draft picks right now for a corner.
Yeah.
Well, you did it for Edge, Scott. Why not a 2026 for Jalen Ramsey? Because Jalen Ramsey's 30-something years old. He's on the downslide, and it's probably only a 1-year deal for him. So it didn't surprise me to not see Atlanta as a factor in there. But they had 4 different teams for Kirk Cousins. We'll get into that, but we want to say hello to some folks first who have come in, like John. He says, "Good morning, Scott, Nick, and the Falcons family." That's all of y'all. So good morning. Alan's here. He said, "I made it. Good morning, Scott and Nick and the Falcons Nation." Man, another wet day in South Georgia. It was really nice yesterday. I actually was in Auburn yesterday talking to some new writers potentially and some people that have done some Falcons work. So hopefully we'll get some new names and new faces that will be providing content for all of us. Met some really good candidates, and we stayed dry. It's been cool though, Nick. Over the weekend, we had 50s. I'm playing 9 a.m. baseball games, and I'm in a big old jacket and people are in their blankets. I'm like, yeah, this is June, man. It's been cool so far, but we know what's coming, don't we? It stays hot until October now.
Yeah, no, it's been beautiful out here, and finally through the rain, summer feels like it's here. We'll have a few more wet spots, but yeah, when I was in Charleston, it just poured on us, unfortunately. So really, I'd hoped to get to one of those beaches out there, but no, We'll see. Maybe next time. The
We've
streets
got
flood
a
down there.
we've got a lot of viewers in Charleston because a lot of people came in the comments and were like, "Thanks for the Charleston shout out. We're watching from Charleston." There were like 4 or 5 people that
Oh, wow.
that
Okay,
said,
well.
and then a couple said hello. So yes, Charleston shout out again. I've said I kind of combine them because I want them both on the list. Thinking of like my top 5 cities in the U.S. Charleston, Savannah is on it. I love that area. Been down. I used to go down with. I played pretty high level club soccer until my late 20s, and we'd go down for the Low Country Invitational over Memorial Day all the time in Charleston. It's just a blast. Just a great city. Love it. And then one of my friends, he played soccer at college at Charleston. He was a really good player. He was a year behind me. Just big fan of there. So if you end up there, I think you're gonna be pretty happy. Michael Ranquillo, the Sunrise, good to see you. Good morning, Scott and Nick on the Falcons podcast. Right back at you. Evan J. He's here. He says, "Good morning, fam. So amped to see this defense." Yeah, that was a question I got last week, I think. What am I most excited to see from this team? And for me, it's the defense. It really is. We've for the most part, yes, there's upside, and we want to see a full season of Michael Penix, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Some of those jaw-dropping throws that he will have, but we've seen most of the offense. This defense should be entirely different. There's a lot of new faces, obviously. That helps. That makes it more fun. But, last year was so painful to watch. This year should be much more attacking. The defense is going to be a lot more fun to watch. And again, I don't care if at the end of the day they didn't move up a ton in total yards, total points. They're similar, I care. But if they're 20s, but some of the other metrics improve from bottom 3 to low 20s would be a big improvement. Time of possession, points per drive, the efficiency stats where they're getting the other team off the field every once in a while, sacks, pressures, et cetera, that should go up. We're going to see more big plays. You're going to see more big plays given up. You're going to see more big plays made. And that should be a lot more fun than death by 1,000 cuts, Nick.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're going to be aggressive. We talked about it on Monday. I really hope that they take a book out of the Broncos and Vikings playbook where they are more first and second down blitz centric, because I just don't know if they, even though you've invested in the defensive line a lot over the last 2 years, I don't know if you have the horses to just run 4 and drop 7 constantly, especially if you're with the way the NFL is trending. They're getting a lot more tight personnel. You're starting to see a little bit more 12 as well, and teams are running more. I think last year was one of the first years in like 20 years that running was nearly as efficient as passing in a lot of those advanced metrics. So you're a little lighter on the box. Well, you're not going to really beat that with having, the 49ers, defensive front they had a few years ago. Everybody was big and long. That's just not how you're built. Instead, you're a little bit smaller. You're built for penetration and disruption, send bodies. And that's risky on the back end. I don't know if you have the depth of man corners back there to pull it off. But did the Vikings have that last year? No, and they got away with it. So it's going to take some clever work. It's not really Ulbricht's style so far, but he's getting away from Saleh. Maybe it'll be something that he does. It's a new chance.
Yeah, again, more aggressive, and there's definitely more depth on the defensive side of the ball. Especially in the defensive backfield, they've added a bunch of players. Last year they didn't add anybody. It was free agency draft, nobody. There wasn't anything until DeMarco Hellams got hurt, and then they signed Justin Simmons in August. There's a lot of new faces back there, including a couple of rookies and 3 rookies, really. It was 2 rookie draft picks and an undrafted free agent, and Kobe Bryant all have a chance to play a lot of minutes this year. There's going to be new faces all over the place, and I'm looking forward to the defense too. Warden, good to see you. He says, happy I get to listen to Nick and Scott on my birthday. Well, happy birthday, 6425. I'm sure, you're probably a lot younger than I am. So, but happy birthday. Glad to have you with us, and hope you enjoy a summer birthday. We're almost polar opposites. You're about as far away from Christmas as you can get, and I'm a January 3rd. So I'm a 1-3, you're a 6-4. So happy birthday to you. Evan J talking about Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts it was leaked through, the channels yesterday that Kyle Pitts is out with a foot injury, like a strained muscle in his foot. They're just taking it easy with him. But yes, there has been some speculation behind the scenes that Kyle Pitts, there's been trade speculation anyway, And then when he's out, the speculation ramps up because you don't want somebody out there running routes and getting hurt if you're in the middle of a trade. Now, I've joked with my guys on Falcons SI on Sports Illustrated. I'm not going to put that in writing. That's what podcasts are for. Speculative BS like that. So it crossed my mind as well, but I don't have any reason to think that he's not, nursing a little bit of an injury. But it's very common for a person who's about to get moved to not be played. But, I don't know that that's the case here. And as far as the second part of this, Evan, as far as they're sidelining him so that his value doesn't decrease, that wouldn't be it. You would be protecting him so he doesn't get injured because you've already got a deal done. His value is as low as it's ever been right now. He can only go up by playing. His value is rock bottom right now as far as a trade piece goes. So if you were actually actively shopping him, you want him on the field. You want the camera on him. You want him doing all kinds of cool stuff. You want him out there if you're actively shopping him. If there was a deal in place, then one, it probably would have already been made by now because he's been out for 3-4 days. But you would that's when you hold him out, not for value decrease. He needs to play to increase his value. His value is rock bottom right now, Nick.
Yeah, I will say it's OTAs, so there's not really much to be gained from him being out there. I think there's a lot more risk because you're not going to add value from closed OTAs or like the highlights that appear to get out there. So if you are trying to shop him, I actually do think in this instance, it makes sense to insulate him, especially given his injury history that he's had. Because if it was like preseason or actual games, that's a different conversation, but you're not adding value in OTAs from any of these guys. There's just risk. So we will see what happens from Pitts. Obviously, it's the guy that we've talked about a lot that we are hoping to see the best of the season. I think more value on the Falcons than away from the Falcons. You traded a lot of picks. This isn't a teardown season. If it was, you'd have your first round pick. So I can't imagine that you're going to get more value for a team that's looking to win immediately than selling him right now. But hey, if the price is right, anybody's available.
No, and what's interesting is, I didn't like the Kyle Pitts pick. That doesn't necessarily mean I don't like Kyle Pitts as a player. And when this discussions come up, people just, they get tunnel vision. These discussions are always binary. I didn't like the Kyle Pitts pick because it was a bad fit. I'm not going to retrograde it and say, he's the problem. He's the bust. I'm like, no, taking a tight end at that juncture was not a good idea. And I put it in writing back then. It wasn't a good idea. Like, oh, well, you're forgetting the fact that he's had crap quarterback play and none of those guys in the league. I'm like, oh, so it was a dumb time to take a tight end then, wasn't it? Well, no. You're burning through his rookie deal by the time you got your quarterback situation straightened out. And guess what happened? You burned through his rookie deal by the time you got your quarterback situation straightened out. You hope. You're still not 100% sure. You think you've got it straightened out with Michael Penix, but it's still not a sure thing. Michael Ranchio says, hit those thumbs up and share and get more Atlanta Falcons in this community. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Michael. We're over on Twix right now. We've gone through some folks over there, and by the end of the show Monday, we had a lot of folks on YouTube coming in too. So thank you so much. We've got a bunch of new faces in here. Harry Marshall Wood, he's not one of those new faces. He's one of the I don't want to say old. That's like offensive. Traditional,
long-standing,
classic. This is our 5th year doing this, Nick. We've begun our fifth year doing the Falcons podcast already. Time flies.
That can't be true. That's unbelievable. Well, thanks to the chat. I see we got Carrie's in the house. Big Low Country. Good to see you. Warden, Corey Carter as well. Yusuf, Michael, a lot of names that recognize in here. Matt Sievers, Nick Rumor is you looking to move to the South? Maybe. MUSC is coming after my wife, so we might be down there. You guys have to tell me what to do outside, otherwise I'll lose my mind. Keith Brugman, I know this one. Said I thought y'all were gone. Haven't seen you on Facebook lately. We've been here.
No. He's right. I switched it. The Facebook algorithms have been so bad that I pay for the StreamYard that lets me go to 3 places, not 5, 6, or 7, but 3. And the Facebook algorithm has been so poor. I've got 26,000 on 2 different pages, followers and likes, and I'll go and I'll look at my analytics and says, you reached 400 people. I'm like, what's the F in Facebook stand for? F you, that just makes you mad. That I'm streaming to X now. That's my 3rd destination. So YouTube obviously has been great to us. The Atlanta Falcons on SI is one of our Facebook destinations, and then my page on X. Those are the 3 destinations we're streaming to right now. Unless all of a sudden, if Facebook wants to play nice with content creators again, I'll add another Facebook page. But Keith, you were the only one watching us over there, so we're glad you're back. We're glad you found us over on YouTube. Psalm is here as well. Good to see you, Psalm. Matt, good morning. Good morning. Let me see. Yeah, Bachman Weaver, he's watching from Savannah. That's just a wonderful, just laid back. There's been a lot of new people coming that way, so hopefully it keeps its charm. Because when you hear the phrase Southern charm, you might roll your eyes, if you're not from around here. But if you go down to Charleston or Savannah, you'll be like, oh, that's what it means. It's special, and those are special places. So Terry, he's saying, can't wait to see who emerges on our D-line Ward Daddy. And folks are hoping that it's Rook. There's a lot of resources that were poured into him. A 2nd and a 3rd round pick at 35, and it wasn't just a 2nd; it was a high 2nd, and a 3rd round pick to get to 35. That's basically a 1st round pick. That was more expensive than what they used on James Pierce. Rook was an expensive trade up. More expensive than Pierce, if in my opinion, unless this season goes to hell and ends up being a top 10 pick. But equivalency right now, that was an expensive pick. There's a lot being placed on him for sure.
Especially when you go up for him.
Big Low Country, good to see you. I want to say hello to him real quick, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Nick. Says, what in the world, Bo? What's going on, Mr. Scott? Good to see you, Big Low. I hope you are doing well.
Yeah, good to see Big Low. Always appreciate him coming in here. Big personality. See, a lot of fun, obviously, the chat, and we appreciate him. See, AJ's recent comment here says McVay's style of offense doesn't usually rely heavily on a tight end. Look at how he's used Tyler Higbee. Robinson is from that tree. Don't really need one. So thank you, AJ, for the comment. And one thing I'll push back on here is that what the Rams have done over the last 2 years, their moves have indicated that they actually are desperate for a tight end and moving for a tight end. Last year, they were calling like crazy to move up for Brock Bowers. And I don't know if you saw I think it was the Inside the Carolina Panthers war room, Scott. And so when they came on the clock after Mason Graham went off, they were taking calls, and none other than the Rams were calling desperately, trying to move up from, I think, where were they at? 26? So moving up from 28 to 26, or 26 to 8, trying to go up for Colston Loveland. Is who they were targeting in that. So they've switched. They obviously really desire a difference maker tight end. So that's the one thing I will push back on. Yes, if you look at what they've done, it's not been a good tight end, but they've been desperately trying to get a tight end and make an aggressive move to go get a tight end. And the comments in here are talking a lot about what happens with the tight end position if Kyle Pitts is moved. I think that it's not so much Charlie Warner or the tight ends that take the slice of the pie. It's just the targets are allocated further to the wide receivers and the running backs.
That's not. And Kerry says, and this is an argument I've seen. It's like, wait a minute, you don't have a replacement for Kyle Pitts. And Kerry comes in and says, we do trade Pitts for a future pick in 2026. Then who replaces him? He had 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. Plus, in this current upcoming season, like him or not, we would need a tight end one. The last 7-8 games of the season, Charlie Warner actually had more snaps. These guys love 11 personnel, so they've got 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back. So I've got 4 offensive weapons on the field. If I go Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, anybody else that steps up, Karol Hodge, we know he's capable of make a play here or there. And then Bijan Robinson / Tyler Algier, all of a sudden the tight end becomes option 6 out there. That it's not necessarily, well, I need to get 600 yards and 4 touchdowns from my tight end. Like Nick said, you filter that into other players. Can Drake London go from 1,200 yards to 1,500 yards, from 4 touchdowns to 10 touchdowns? Those are, I don't remember exactly how many touchdowns he had last year, but volume touchdown numbers have been hard to come by for wide receivers, for pass catchers. And with the Atlanta Falcons. Even Julio, as good as he was, he didn't get in the end zone a ton. That was one of the things that's kind of a blemish on his resume compared to all the players he's up against in every other category.
And I will say, Scott,
Charlie Warner replaced Kyle Pitts last year, and the offense was just fine.
Yeah, and obviously, I think you're not going to get as much for Kyle Pitts as the potential of him still. I know coach killer, all that stuff, but I think it's worth it more for this regime to hold on to him and hope that he can figure it out still. He's still young, and tight end can be a late blooming position. And we have proof of concept. He was so good his rookie season. But just looking at the top offenses last season, Scott, an EPA per play, we've always talked about on here, there's not many actually good tight ends in the league in general. But you look at the number one offense was the Ravens. Was Mark Andrews the driver of that offense? I mean, he's a useful piece. That's one of probably the top 7 receiving tight ends. He's out there though. But the Bills, number 2, Dalton Kincaid. I mean, is he really a needle mover? I think they would maybe change that pick if they had it in hindsight. Sam Laporta for the Lions at number 3. That's another good tight end. Then you got the Commanders at 4. Zach Ertz. I mean, how old is he? He's not really a needle mover. They still got the 4th best passing offense. The Buccaneers at 5. They have Cade Otton, I think, out there. That's not a needle mover. The 6 was the Bengals with Mike Gesicki. Then you have the Packers at 7 with Tucker Kraft. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. But it's not necessary for. I'm making.
He's allergic to Nick's allergic to tight ends.
I mean, as an Iowa fan, that hurts. But it's not necessary, especially with the resources the Falcons have poured into the wide receivers and the running back position as well. It's not necessarily that you have to have this tight end 1 for the offense. It's just the tight end becomes a lesser part of the target share.
Let me clear up for some of the viewers here, talking about where they're watching the show and stuff. I will always stream to where you're watching right now. The stream's not going away. I will always stream to Atlanta Falcons on SI. I was also streaming to Scott Kennedy Sports, my other Facebook page that I've actually had longer, and it's got 26,000 followers, and I was getting 200, impressions and like 50 views, and Keith was like 50 of them. So I went off of that page. The Atlanta Falcons on SI is just fine. We're not going anywhere. What helps, though, is hit a like and share. See if you can juice the algo a little bit and get more people watching on Facebook. I have no problem with that. My problem is that Facebook isn't showing our followers our content. That's the problem I have. But I'm glad that y'all are here. Let me see. We got Curtis Case coming in. Appreciate you with a super breaking the ice here for us with that blue. He says, "Morning, Scott, Nick, and Falcons Nation," and thank you for being here as well. Yeah, one of the things that I sliced my nose shaving this morning, by the way, so hopefully it's not too bad. I'm like, let's see what's going on here. I'm not bleeding, am I? I can see myself in the reflection. I'm producing the Falcons podcast the other day, and one of the main the Broncos podcast the other day, and one of the main topics comes up is, Tyler Algier is a big target for the Denver Broncos. I'm like, what? That caught me off guard, to say the least. I don't think that Tyler Algier is a trade option until the trade deadline, and that's only if the Falcons season goes off the rails. You're not going to get a lot for him in the last year of his contract. Running backs are cheap to obtain. The Broncos got one. They got a running back in the draft. They used a 2nd-round pick, I believe, on RJ Harvey, and they want to roll with him. Now, Tyler Algier is a valuable piece to this Atlanta Falcons offense. I don't want to give him up for a 7th rounder in 2026, but let's say the Denver Broncos or some other team, the Philadelphia Eagles, are rolling. They're 10-1 come October 31st, and their number 1 running back gets hurt. And the Falcons are sitting there at 4-6. Again, a lot of stuff has to go wrong for Tyler Algier to be trade bait. And I wrote this up before the draft. I'm like, this is why it doesn't make any sense for Tyler Algier to go. He's more valuable on the Falcons for anything that you could get for him if you want to win games. Now, if you don't want to win games anymore because you haven't been and you're looking forward to 2026, then maybe he becomes more valuable to a team that's trying to make a playoff push. But Falcons want to make a playoff push. And if they're going to make a playoff push, Tyler Algier needs to be part of it. I don't want Bijan Robinson getting 400 touches this year. He got 365 last year. That's a lot. I'd be happy with him staying around right 350, but being more efficient. better yards per carry, better yards per rush, more touchdowns, and Tyler Algier still gets his share too. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, with the draft going, the ship has sailed, I think, on Tyler Algier being traded, unless somebody offers you something crazy, right? If somebody comes in and offers you a third round pick for a last year contract running back, even if you're in your window right now, I think you probably consider it for a top 100 pick, but you're probably talking more fourth, fifth rounder. I mean, you see guys, running backs traded, or skill position guys traded for that often in that kind of realm. So it's probably more of a conversation if the Falcons struggle out of the gate. The defense is bad again. Penix has some accuracy, erratic issues, and you're sitting there looking like you're out of the playoff picture come the trade deadline. So we're way off from that still, but it's certainly something that could happen on the horizon. Just the timeline doesn't line up right now.
In Bonnie's Bonies, there's bones on there. So Bonnie's Bluff Gaming 4-6 is crazy. Yeah, and for me, so is trading Tyler Algier right now because you're not getting anything for him. That's kind of the point of if Tyler Algier is trade bait, something has gone really wrong. Mm-hmm. You need him. I mean, again, Bijan had 365 touches last year. He was top 5, I believe, in touches. I don't want him getting more than that. I want him to be more efficient. I want to see some more big plays, not necessarily, running into the wall all the time and trying to push the wall. I like having my number 2 running back to doing that. And by God, Tyler Algier can do a job when it comes to angry runs, sugar and spice, so to speak, or, the style, thunder and lightning is what's always gets used with something like that. But on that one, I would love to see, Tyler's I've said Tyler's best friend is Bijan Robinson because it's a 5th round pick. His total compensation through his 4 years is going to be $4 million. Now that's good money, but that's not necessarily I can quit and live my life on $4 million as a 25-year-old athlete for the rest of my life. His next contract is going to double his life's earnings. He'll get at least $4 million, probably in the neighborhood of $7 to $8 million a year for 2 or 3 years on his next contract. And part of that is because the low wear and tear on him with Bijan. Now, if Bijan wasn't here and Tyler's been getting 350 carries a season for these last 4 years and made $400, the dude's washed up by the time he gets to year 5 and is open for a second contract. He's still fresh. He's still good to go. So I'm happy for Tyler that he's going to get a chance to earn some real money next year, relatively speaking. I mean, who wouldn't? We'd all be happy to make $1 million. Don't get me wrong. But some, relatively speaking, some I can retire money, some life-changing money for him.
A second contract for a running back is not a guarantee by any means. So he's been kept fresh and healthy thanks to the timeshare and having Bijan there. And it's a tough situation because odds of retaining him for the Falcons, I think, are pretty low when you have Robinson that you're looking to pay as well. And you probably don't want to have 2 second contract running backs. But we talked about it leading up to the draft. If the Falcons wanted to, or were interested in moving Algier, you make that move during the draft or before the draft and then reset the contract through the draft, drafting a running back at that point. That didn't happen. So now you're sitting there with questionable depth behind him. And again, that window probably doesn't open unless things go off the rail. And you're talking trade deadline. Falcons are looking to recoup assets with an eye to the future and reshaping the team. But we're not there right now. Right now, it's go time. Yep,
win.
It's win.
It's win time. Yeah, it is. This is it's playoffs or bust for a lot of people in Atlanta. I believe that this year. Kiara, good to see you. Hope you are doing well. Says, hey, y'all. Hey, back. How you doing? Evan J coming in with a super chat. Says, thanks so much for entertaining us psychos this deep in the offseason. It means more than you know. Also, I don't know who it was, but one of the line coaches was boasting about JPJ, James Pierce Jr. Do you remember who was it? Was it John Paul? Who hurt his hand with fireworks?
Pierre Paul.
Pierre Paul, okay.
JPP.
Yeah, JPP. I'm like, okay. Could end up being could he end up being a Micah? A little bit different body style. Micah Parsons is built like an inside linebacker. He was coming out as an inside linebacker, and that's one of the reasons he fell to 11. There's some off the field stuff that concern him too, but nobody really thought if he would be, he's going to be this hair on fire edge rusher where he spends most of his time now. Because if he had been, in hindsight, the farthest he falls off. And I'm starting to think he goes number 1 overall at this point. I've kind of held on to Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor still goes because the chance of the quarterback is just so much higher.
But I mean, in a hindsight draft, you can go hindsight. Then Micah Parsons has a legit argument for number 1 overall. And then Jamar Chase might be number 2.
You're probably right with those two. And then Surtain maybe on the Surtain and Sewell on the heels.
What I'm sure of is that quarterbacks don't go 1, 2, 3 again.
No, absolutely not. Yep. Yeah.
But I understand, when I try not to hindsight grade too much, I try and remember, and it helps because I dwell on everything and relive things 30 years ago like they happened yesterday. It's the Irishman in me. And remember, it's like I will hold on to takes, but I'm not going to regrade and say, the Falcons should have taken Micah Parsons. He wasn't really an option because they were pretty set at linebacker, they thought at the time, about the only position they were set at. And they didn't really know he was going to be a pass rusher like that. Nobody did. Or he wouldn't have fallen to 11 in that draft. But Pierce is a little bit different, but there's a lot of people raving about the Falcons rookie guys right now in their uptake. They look the part, obviously, and a lot of it's walkthroughs, but they're pleased with. It's kind of like test taking at this point. All right, this is the play. What do you do? And they're sharp. Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. are answering the bell of what's being asked of them very well right now. But it's hard to you can't get too excited in OTAs because they are glorified walkthroughs for the most part. But there is absolutely a reason for hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Undoubtedly, the comp I've used for, JPJ. There's somehow JPP, JJJ is Brian Burns. Is a little bit more of that finesse wide 9 guy, and really, good pursuit player, great athleticism. Maybe not necessarily the best edge setter. Maybe not the most versatile in alignment. Like you're not going to ask him to line up at 4-eye. Maybe in some crazy NASCAR packages you can get a little bit wild, but can you do enough on first and second down to get to those spots? But yeah, he's a wide 9 guy. And we got Jason Pierre-Paul. Remember him from, was he South Florida? One of those Florida schools.
He was USF. He was I think he was a grade casualty. I think he might have been a JUCO guy first, if I'm not mistaken. I was covering back then. I was director of scouting, and he ended up at USF because it was a grade concern. So he might have gone to a junior college first and then came back, circles back through out of the junior college. Like, I remember this guy. He was a freaking beast. Yeah, he was. So he was like their first ever 5-star guy. We had 5 stars next to his name when he came out. Speaking of 5-star guys, Low Country Sports, is it okay if I do it? Man, that's a super chat. Enjoying listening to you guys at the driving range. Well, that's awesome. What a great way. Hopefully, it can keep you nice and calm. I don't know about you, but I got better as a golfer when I got older because my ego was gone, sort of. I knew I couldn't hit the ball 330 yards anymore, so I stopped trying. Do y'all think Kirk will be traded or keep the bench warm? Big Low Country, I've said that everything that I have said and predicted for Kirk Cousins since the day he signed has been wrong. But what's interesting is ESPN today did they did hypothetical trade offers. And again, they did a big long column on Kirk Cousins, Trey Hendrickson, and Jalen Ramsey. 3 guys Falcons fans have talked about a lot. Hendrickson and Ramsey weren't really in consideration for the Falcons, which I agree with. We get that question. It comes up every once in a while because aggregators do it or possible trade destinations. Scott, what do you think? I don't think Hendrickson. I think the day after the draft, Hendrickson was out. And I think with Jalen Ramsey is just not the right fit with this team with the resources they have available to make a trade. I just, unless it's Kyle Pitts for Jalen Ramsey straight up, both on 1-year deals, maybe that works. But Jeremy Fowler did a trade offer to Cleveland Browns. They said they send Kenny Pickett a 6th and $10 million for Kirk Cousins. Oh, and a 2026 7th-round pick. So it was a pick swap. The Vikings offer a 5th-round pick at a 7th-round pick and $10 million. That was Dan Graziano. The Vikings get Cousins. Ben Solak for the Steelers. 2026 6th-round pick, conditional that could move up to a 5th-rounder. And Cousins, and he put the Steelers get cash considerations. Flip that. You're not sending the Steelers for a 6 and not getting any money back out of it. And then finally, our friend Seth Walder. Again, I won't say an entire entity hates a team. Seth Walder hates the Falcons. Falcons get, with the Vikings, they get Sam Howell. There's your backup quarterback in cash considerations. He says $12 million, and the Vikings get Cousins. Would you do that? Because it's not just $12 million. It's $22 million. The Falcons are on the hook right now for $75 million of salary cap considerations. 38 of that is what they've already paid in a signing bonus. They've taken 1 year off of that. That was last year. The rest of it's the balance of $50 million across 4 years. It's $38 million. $27.5 million in guaranteed salary this year and a $10 million roster bonus that's for 2026. That adds up to $75 million. For $12 million and a 6th-round pick, that number goes from 75 minus 22 goes to $53 million. Now, $53 million still sounds like a crazy cap hit, Nick, but you now can spread that across 2 years and call it, 26 and 26 just to make it even. $26 million in 2 years of dead cap hit, while it sounds just the whole idea of wasting that much money bothers me, it's not out of consideration. It's about average. What the average team in the NFL carries in dead money is about that much. So it's about normal to have that much dead money. $12 million in a 6th-round pick. Are you making that deal?
Yeah. I said to start the show, getting the monkey off the back, moving forward. I'm ready for it to be done. Personally, I think the most fun would be to see him in the Steelers for pairing him with Arthur Smith out there. And that's the team that is not good enough at quarterback. And I'm so over the Aaron Rodgers show in general to get me off that ride, if at all possible. So let's stomp out that opening if we can to keep him out. I'm ready for that to be done. But no, I would definitely move on from him for that. And even though it's still $50 million on the books there, you're saving, what was it, $24 million opening up and getting that, just the distraction gone. Now it does open up questions of the backup quarterback spot. You're getting, was it Kenny Pickett back in that one? At least you have that, I guess, small hands Pickett playing the dome. Hey, maybe it's a good fit if you don't have to worry about the weather out there in the NFC South as much. But yeah.
I said this before. So Big Low, will they trade him? I think it's hard to make deals. It is. I don't think it's going to be the Steelers. I think Aaron Rodgers still goes to the Steelers. Are the Browns in a position where they can give up resources? Like, are they a playoff team with Kirk Cousins? If they're not, why bother? Why bother making that deal? And the Vikings, would I rather be a backup in Minnesota where I feel like they have been honest to me and I've got, roots there? Or would I rather be a backup on the Falcons where I feel like they have been dishonest with me, have thrown me under the bus, and it's been a bad relationship since I got here because I have a no trade clause? Well, my family lives here. Yeah, but at that point, you're talking about 4 months of a season. You're talking about four months for a guy who's worth a couple $100 million. We can fly the family in and out on private jets if we need to for games and see them all the time. Do I think they'll trade him? I just feel like at this point, no. And I don't think they're going to cut him either. And I also feel like, Big Low, I feel like there's too many Madden players out there that make comments on this. He's the best backup in the league. Why would you still need a backup? One, if you're your backup quarterback, 32 teams out of 32 teams, you're screwed. That's just the way it is. Either you don't have a quarterback anyway, and your backup is maybe somebody who's coming up, like Michael Penix. But the backup quarterback in the NFL, for the most part, is a clipboard holding irrelevant doormat. They're just there. So I don't care. Another part of it is Kirk Cousins a good quarterback? Yes, he is. I still think he has a chance to be a pretty good quarterback in this league. So wouldn't that make him a good backup? You don't want to be there. They don't want him there. That doesn't make for a good team player, a leader of your offense. He's in and out of the facility. He's doing his own thing. He'll be there for mandatory mini camps. He's going through the motions. Those guys don't make great backup quarterbacks in the real world. They might be okay on your Madden team, but not in the real world. He is not a good backup quarterback because he doesn't want to be a backup quarterback on this team.
Yeah, I think that is again, wash your hands, move on, and see what you can get for him. I'm hoping that now, Scott, I mean, at the same time, though, we are entering the point where an injury can really change the perspective of the teams available and the market. And you already got through the draft with him. I think that waiting still has its benefit leading up to week 1. So maybe, like, we're talking OTAs right now. Maybe if you talk about training camp, the mixed practices, preseason, our quarterbacks are bad. JJ McCarthy is not where we'd hoped he would be. We had an injury. Maybe that changes the market a bit. So while I think I'm ready for this story to be over with and just move forward with the Penix era, at the same time, the market could shift for that. And there's a little bit of a gamble there. I mean, not even a gamble though, really, right? Like, how much is actually going to change the perspective of the Falcons? Unless you have an offer on the table that's going to expire, that's a different conversation. But I don't know if that's the case. So there is a little bit to at least consider for waiting right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like, oh, well, Kirk's never been a distraction. Kirk's never been in this situation. He's been the underdog before where he's had to battle, but he's not even getting a chance to battle for a starting position. He doesn't want to be there at all. He knows he has no chance. He's not in a competition. He has no chance to start, and he signed here to start. I mean, it was pretty clear. It was a 2-year deal, what we're going to do with 2 years. But as Joe said, he's agreeing with you, Nick, there is a chance that another team, that his market could change. I'm talking about Tyler Algier. I love Tyler Algier. I think he's a big part of this team. His trade value will be higher in October than it is right now. Kirk Cousins' trade value could go up when someone Achilles, no, I don't even want to say it. When someone, gets hurt in camp, stepping on a nail or whatever, and they all of a sudden another opening comes up for a starter. What are you willing to gamble on that? If you have a $22 million offer, that's what you're gambling. I don't think it's there yet. I don't think that offer is even on the table at this point to even turn down. So right now, the Falcons don't necessarily have anything to lose other than the distraction that Kirk Cousins may become. Oh, wait, they're leaking out. There was a scrap. Yeah. A source tells me Matthew Bergeron and David Onyemata hate each other. Where'd that come from? You start getting these leaks coming out of Flowery Branch. And, that's the kind of stuff why you don't want a guy like Kirk Cousins around. Would he do that? If it knows it's not going to get back to him and, he's feel like he's done dirty, players do that. That's why, I saw D Orlando Ledbetter first quoted Mike Tomlin. It's where I first saw it was from D-Led was, no hostages. We don't keep guys that don't want to be here. It's bad for the team. But you'd say it's good for him to just play out the year and be done. But man, he's only got 2 or 3 years left. I feel it's like my son right now in high school. I'm like, man, if he's not in the right situation, he's only got 2 years left. These are going fast. And he's still got a chance to keep playing. Kirk's about done. So Kirk could be getting desperate on here. And those trade proposals from that ESPN says, what might he be worth, ends up being $22 million in a day 3 pick. I'd do it. What about backup quarterback? There is no plan B. Kirk isn't a good backup quarterback. Not for this team. Maybe for somebody else. And that's why you can get something for him. He is not a good backup quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, and I will stick by that. Maybe on your Madden team, but not in real life.
No, all the eggs are in the Michael Penix basket. And I always like to quote Tom Moore, longtime offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning. And they're talking about, why does Peyton Manning get 98% of the reps? And the reporter asked, well, what happens if Peyton Manning goes down? He said, if 18 goes down, we're effed. We don't practice effed. So that's kind of where you are with Penix, and it makes sense for Kirk to want to get out of there as well. So I don't know. It's an odd situation. We haven't seen much like this for the Broncos. It's like if they kept Russell Wilson after drafting Bo Nix on here. It's like, man, at least they're professional about it. It's still up front, but ready for it to be done for sure. Ready to focus on the guys that we have here that are going to matter for 2025.
No, and Brian says that was a real fight between Onyemata and Bergeron. Yeah, it was a camp scrap. That happens all the time. If they're not fighting in camps, you're not holding a very good camp. There should be some pushy shovies between offensive and defensive linemen and wide receivers and cornerbacks. There should be. There's supposed to be. Those guys don't hurt each other, and it's understood that once it's off the field, we're done for the most part. They don't always have to like each other, but yeah, those scraps happen. That's to be expected. Kerry talking about it's a two-way street. Kirk isn't innocent either in how he's acted with the media, then going above the head coach and general manager and blank to try and get out. No, but Kerry, that's part of it. Kirk's never been a distraction. He's the ultimate professional. Right now, he's worried about the rest of his career because it's short, and he will be desperate. He will be a distraction. In my opinion, this isn't a fact. This is my opinion that he will end up being a distraction. And, I think I saw someone else say it one time. He may have to be the villain. He may have to be the bad guy and act in ways that he wants out in order to force a move. Again, you don't want, especially at the quarterback position, no hostages. He's the best backup quarterback in the NFL. Really? Because I thought, he got benched because he was ass last year. No, he was hurt. Really? The Falcons say he wasn't hurt. And I thought you were mad at him for saying he was hurt and lying about it. It's all bad. It's all bad. And the best thing to happen is for the Falcons and Kirk Cousins to go separate ways as quickly as possible. Now, that doesn't need to happen right now. And if the Falcons can get $22 million and a 6th-round pick of it, I'll say good job. Because I said day 3 and $10 million before the other $10 million kicked in for the roster bonus. And that would be salvaging something from what was really an historically bad deal. When we see lists in 10 years of some of the best and worst free agent signings of all time, the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins will be on that list. This was an historically bad deal.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Yes, it was, Scott. And luckily you did draft Penix at the same time, so you're not sitting here with your you-know-what in your you-know-what. But hoping to move on, and luckily there has been a pathway at least laid out where a lot of teams have shown that dead money is not the worst thing in the world, especially with where free agency is at right now. It's not superstars hitting there very often, right? The free agency market, maybe last year was just a aberration. Is that the right word? Where it was like really a bad year to have money on the open market. I mean, when you got the Patriots paying what they did for like a guy like Milton Williams and some of these contracts, it's ridiculous. So having the money is good if you're drafting well and retaining your own guys for contracts, but not necessarily these big splash contracts on the open market necessarily. So that's what it's about. And it's not going to affect the Falcons as far as retaining Drake London. I mean, who's coming up right now that you're going to have to be able to retain? Drake London is going to be a big contract. Bijan will be big, but it's still a running back at the end of the day. You don't really have a defensive lineman that's coming up for a huge contract. You don't really have another defensive guy that I can think of that's due. So
all of a sudden you're young on defense.
Yeah.
You're got rookie contractors. You've got rookie contracts on defense for the first time in a while. Yes. Go with that.
Yep. Yeah. So luckily you do have a little bit of things, and we got, I'm not
Carl
sure
Ward James, he says, I've literally seen nothing to make this be an issue. You guys act like these guys are toddlers. It's annoying. And I think I've seen some of this, Kirk hasn't done anything, but that's not true. That's not true. He's already, gone to the owner and pushed for a trade. He goes to Super Bowl row. And on top of this, he will not, even at Super Bowl row, he will not speak to an Atlanta-based reporter, not a one. Every time Kirk Cousins has been out there, and it becomes a story when he says it, he's talking to a national reporter. He won't talk to anybody in Atlanta. Not at Super Bowl row, not at OTAs, nothing. Goes to the owner and pushes for a trade. Goes to Super Bowl row and says, "Oh yeah, I was hurt," which caused basically another press conference for the Atlanta Falcons saying he wasn't hurt. We weren't hiding anything. Doing and leaking stuff. Those are two of the big ones right there. When you start not counter, what's the word I'm looking for? When you say one thing and I contradict it. When I'm contradicting my coach and my general manager in public from the Super Bowl, that's something. And that's just a start. It's just a start. So, could it get worse? Yes, it could. Could it all of a sudden be swept under the rug and he is a quiet professional who's willing to wait until he gets cut next year? It could. I don't think that happens. So to say that he hasn't done anything to this point to be a distraction, that's not factually accurate.
No, I mean, and some of it's not necessarily his fault. It's just the contract and the situation that you find yourself in.
He's doing what he needs to do to try and play somewhere in the last 3 years of his career. He's almost done. He can't afford to sit out a year. He can't.
Yep. It is tough, and it's going to be interesting to follow it. And it's the constant conversation here, so we can't do much about it until we move on. But overall, I mean, you talked about the Onyemata Bergeron fight as well. Pitts has been in the news. Any other final burning thoughts? Because it is 6:30. I got to fly here.
Yeah, that's fine. And we'll get going. Go do some Broncos. I want to just finish up with some. This is the last time we'll see y'all till Monday. So I want to finish up with some of the questions and things that we have here. So Nick, thanks for being here. We'll see you later. And again,
absolutely.
As far as all of this goes, I don't necessarily want Kirk to be the story. No, I don't want him to be the story, and backup quarterbacks aren't supposed to be the story. That's part of the problem. Michael Penix, I think, has a bright future with this team. And like I said, I think the offense is fairly well set. The defense that's gone out there for OTAs has been what you would expect it to be. Veterans. You got Mike Hughes, you got D. Alford. Of the new players, Divine Diablo has been lining up a lot with the first team. That's to be expected. He's a veteran coming in that way too. So those are some of the things that we expect to see. Now, as they move forward, can Jalen Walker push for a starting role? Yes, he can. Can James Pierce be a first option? I don't necessarily say a starter, but in this package, in a third down package, if you're in a situational package, like, the punter didn't start, well, but is he the starting punter? Yeah, the first time we asked the punting field team to go out, he's out there. So I think James Pierce can be a first option. I think Xavier Watts can be a starter, maybe not the first week. Jordan Fuller's in there right now, but I think Xavier Watts can be a starter on this team. As far as the nickel goes, D. Alford right now is running with the ones, so to speak. But he's going to get pushed. He's going to get pushed from Clark Phillips. He's going to get pushed from Billy Bowman. Mike Hughes is going to be pushed from some other players too. Specifically, Kobe Bryant, I think, will push him. So there's a lot of competition on the defensive side of the ball that I'm here for, that I'm looking forward to. What else is on your mind? And then we'll get out of here. It's about 9:30 right now. So want to just say hello to some folks and goodbye to some folks and thank you to some folks. Carrie, appreciate you being here as always. And like I said, the big C word this year for me is competition. Last year it was complacency. Last year was comfortable. God, I twitch. My eye twitches when I heard the word comfortable coming out of Flowery Branch. This year it's competition, and I love it. It's going to be so much better for the team, especially the long haul. Got that early bye week. What is it, week 5? And then 13 straight games. You're going to need depth and competition this year. So I'm glad that, it's there. I'm glad it's there this year. So I'm going to get out of here. Again, the comments about Kirk Cousins and what I think. This is what I think about Kirk Cousins. You may think that he's an awesome backup and isn't going to be a problem. I disagree. That's okay. That's okay. I want to be done with the Kirk Cousins Atlanta chapter and move on. That's what I want as much as anything. Do I want them to necessarily give him away? No, I don't want them to cut him. I think they can still get something, and holding on to him and trying to get something, I think, is the right move. But I am ready for this chapter to be over. I'm ready to stop talking about it too. So we'll see. But on that note, I'm going to get out of here. Christy, she's coming in a little bit late. Good to see you as well. Hope you're doing well, except it scrolled when I missed you. And I said hello to Chris again. Chris is one of our OGs. This Christy. She says, good morning, Scott and Pamela and Carrie and Big Low and Falcons family. That's all y'all. Happy hump day. Hump day. Yeah. Hump day. We're out of here. And Corey says, you have to talk about something. It's June. And that's a topic. It's still going to be a topic right now. The Falcons have, with Kyle Pitts and Kirk Cousins, I think Falcons, there's a little fatigue with these topics, but they haven't gone away quite yet. I know I'm fatigued of them. I want Kyle Pitts to have a great year, and I want Kirk Cousins to be gone. Those are my June wishes for Christmas right now. Is that's what I want. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. Let me see. I want to say thank you to Curtis, to Evan, to Big Low with the super chat coming in. And make sure, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe so you're getting the alerts when we go. Give us a share. Find some more Falcons fans so we can reach more Falcons fans just like you. And then we will be back on Monday. Mandatory minicamp cranks up next week, so we should see some pads and should see a little more action out there. And I'm looking forward to that. And we'll have a little bit almost football. And then we're halfway through June at that point, and we're right around the corner from football season. So y'all have a great rest of your week. I appreciate you being here. Take care, everybody.